Oh, yeah. Using computer audio. Now, I get so confused on.
Like when it come up there, the first box that it come up and said, did it say, you joined with audio? Okay. It should work.
How do I tell? I have to wait till she starts it though to see if I am muted or not.
That's your mute.
Hey, Greg, are you on there?
I am.
Hey, do you want to try to meet next month on all
Yeah.
these cases?
Yes.
Because I know we're going to have to pass some.
Yeah, I'll be glad to.
You got any help lined up?
Not yet.
I feel for you.
Josh leave?
How
Um,
about the 4th of June on Friday at 9?
Okay, let me look.
Okay. Yeah, he left, went to Bowling Green about a month ago.
That ought to work.
Okay, I'll just put down June 4th at 9. We'll just bring everything. We'll just discuss everything if you want to, regardless. We'll have
Okay.
to open up someday. I noticed I need to be living in Ohio. If you've had your vaccination, you can get in the lottery up there.
Isn't that a little bit discriminate?
No, government can do what they want to.
This list over here that you said was the docket? Where'd it come from?
Printed that out from Megan, Matt.
No, this is the list
I
you're
don't
talking
know. I
about.
don't
The docket.
know. This is what I was talking about. I don't know where that came from. What that is.
Well, the way I read that top sentence is they're wanting all evidence destroyed in those cases. Am I reading that wrong?
That's something Dupree sent. I'm not went through yet.
Hey, Corey.
Good morning. I've got a court thing going on here. I've got 2 grand jurors I gotta get served, sworn in here with somebody.
This is drug.
Corey, can you hear me? This is Jesse Stockton.
Yes, sir. I had to get unmute there. Yeah,
Oh,
how
that's
you doing?
fine. I don't believe I've ever met you. Good to meet you. I'll
It's
try to
nice
get you.
meet you.
You've
Thank you.
got Devin Howard, I guess, is the only one you've got, isn't it?
I do. That's what I've got it right here.
Okay, I'll try to defer to you and get you off here because I've got a long docket.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome, man.
Is Colston continued? Or he?
Kim, do you have the Grangers there?
Good morning, Judge. I'm gonna walk across the hall here and put them in a room where they can hear you with no interference. Does anybody know where the key to that room is? Never mind, I'll figure out something here. Okay. Come right in here with me. I'm gonna set this laptop up.
Okay, they can leave their mask on, okay? They're just two Grangers.
Yeah, let me turn the volume up here just a little bit. Maybe they can hear you if you want to. Step on in.
I can speak louder. Is that
Okay.
better? Thank y'all for coming in. You were drawn to be on the grand jury as substitute grand jurors. Will you raise your right hand, please? You solemnly swear or affirm that you will conduct work as members of the Monroe Circuit Court grand jury, that you'll keep all matters contained in any testimony or any exhibits confidential, that you will protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, the laws of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So help you God.
I do.
Okay, well, thank you very much. They'll lead you to the grand jury room, and remember, it's very that you keep things confidential. Thank you for your service. Now, we have a special prosecutor
All right.
on. We'll call a case of Commonwealth of Kentucky versus Devon Howard, and we have a special prosecutor, Corey Morgan, on there, who represents Mr. Howard. Good morning, Mr. Morgan.
Good morning, Judge.
Yeah. Mr. Berry, you represent Mr. Howard?
I don't know, Judge, if we represented him down in district court. I'm assuming we did.
Well, I'll continue the appointment. We've had some problem with the Fayette County Correctional Facility. We're not used to having people come before this court. We've tried to contact them. My staff lawyer who's on the line with us here has contacted them, left messages, only got a recording. So Mr. Howard is not available today to be here. So what is his circumstance, Mr. Berry? Do you know, is pretrial, is he a state prisoner, or is he up there on local charges with pretrial on the line?
Judge, I couldn't tell you.
Ms. Fletcher, are you on the line? Ms. Fletcher from pretrial will give us an update. Go ahead, Ms. Fletcher.
Sorry, Judge. Who were we asking about?
Devon Howard.
Oh, Devin Howard. He's up there on local charges, and he has holds for your court as well.
What kind of local charges does he have up there?
Let me get him pulled up. I'm almost positive that it's assault fourth and strangulation is his charges up there. See what happened with him. Give me 1 second to get to him. But he received New Monroe County charges. You placed a hold on him. Yeah. He got New Monroe charges 21F09, possession of meth, possession of marijuana. You placed a hold on him for 18 CR 173, and you also did a probation hold. Well, then he also was served with Fayette County arrest warrants, but they would not create a case until he was transported up there, right? So I contacted you to let you know that when he went to court before being transported up there, the PV hold was addressed and he was supposed to be released and put on drug court, but we did not take up his 18 CR 173 hold. That sentence has been modified to a, let me look at it so I can tell you, 50,000 cash with an ankle monitor.
That's here in Monroe. That's here in Monroe Circuit. That.
Yes, sir. And
So
it looks like he also has a 21 CR03 surety 15,000 out of Monroe County. But he
Okay.
also has a new Fayette felony
So
case that's waiting.
It hadn't been to the grand jury in Fayette County, is what you're telling me.
Correct.
What's his bond up there?
looks like it has been modified to 3,000 cash.
Okay. Well, welcome to the case, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Judge.
You know, these multi-jurisdictional cases like we have here quite frequently are hard to take care of. So, Mr. Berry, you're appointed in these cases down here. I would assume that you can investigate to see if the public defender's office has been, public defender's office has been appointed up there. I don't know what we can do here. Obviously, a bond hearing would be useless and futile because he's got these various charges around. So what do you suggest, Mr. Morgan?
Your Honor, if we could have just a new date, and I'll make sure there's discovery and a plea offer to the defense by the next date. And
Okay, well, the date will be May the 13th at 9 a.m. And you may appear virtually if you would like on that day. Mr. Berry, you have no objection to that?
I don't, Judge, did you mean June?
June 13th?
Oh, yeah, I was talking about today. I guess it's June 17th.
17th, okay. June 17th.
June 17th, yes. June
Okay.
17th at 9 a.m. And I will, I guess I'll just go ahead. We don't have anything to arraign him here on, I guess. It's just a status conference. Mr. Berry, make sure
Judge, there is an arraignment. He hasn't been arraigned on the new charge.
on the new charge, he hasn't been arraigned? Okay, well, we'll just go ahead and sign a reciprocal discovery order, even though he hasn't been arraigned, and we'll just arraign him that day. And
Yes,
if
sir.
you'll give Mr. Berry that information, maybe we can wrap it up that day. And if he's going to be incarcerated, we'll have to add him to the priority list. And it will, you know, as far as trials. Okay, well, thank you very much for your attendance, Mr. Berry. You have anything else?
Thank you, Judge. I just want to let you know too that on the 17th, I've got a trial over here. So my assistant may be appearing in lieu of my appearance.
That'd be
If
fine.
that's okay.
That's
All
would
right.
be fine. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. You have a great
Thank
day.
you.
for being
You
here.
too. Bye-bye.
Okay, we're going to call Commonwealth versus David Bridges. He is incarcerated, and I think he has some business that they need to have him released for over there. Commonwealth versus David Bridges. Are you David Bridges?
Yes, sir.
Were you born in 1970?
Yes, sir.
Last four digits of your social security number 6243.
Yep.
We're here today for the purpose of arraignment. You have the right to remain silent. You're represented by Mr. Berry, who's the grand jury of Monroe County has returned an indictment charging you with a improper lights on a motor vehicle, driving, DUI, suspended, second offense in 5 years. That's the aggravator. Possession of controlled substance, first degree, first offense, drug paraphernalia, failure of owner to maintain insurance, expired plates, and operating motor vehicle under the influence of alcohol, third offense as an aggravator. Mr. Berry, do you acknowledge the identity of your client, receipt of the indictments, waive formal reading and arraignment, enter a plea of not guilty, reserving all pretrial?
I do, Judge.
Okay, and we'll sign a reciprocal discovery order today, get the information over to you. Now, is Mr. Bridges being held on any other charge other than this charge here?
Yes, Judge, he has a parole hold. Bond on this case is currently set at a clerk approved surety, 20,000.
And he has a bond, has a parole violation or probation? Parole hold, okay. Well, so there would be need to have a motion for reduction of bond because of that. I'd like to add an ankle bracelet on there just in case because of these other aggravators on here.
Yes, sir.
We'll set this case for June the 17th. Mr. Bridges, your attorney will be getting all the information that they have concerning so you can prepare your defense. and he'll be over to talk to you, okay?
All right.
Thank you very much. Gary Gerald.
Yeah, you just tell me his phone.
Commonwealth of Kentucky versus Gary Gerald,
Yes, sir.
which this is 17 CR 0000114. It's a motion for shock probation. Are you Gary Gerald,
Yes, sir.
born in 1976?
Yes, sir.
Last four digits, social security number 9323.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I am correct. Is that Mr. Berry? Is this a motion for shock probation?
It is, Judge. Mr. Gerald was revoked on a prior probation back in January of this year, January 21, I believe it was. Since that time, he's managed to get his GED while he's been in jail. He had gone to Second Hope Ministries up in Louisville, a sober living facility, before he was revoked, and evidently had done pretty well up there and really thought it was being beneficial for him. And he was wanting to go back to that if he could get shock probated again. And he says he had a job while he was in Louisville.
Mr. Hillringer, will you turn your camera off till we call your case?
Yes, sir, I will, Judge.
Thank you very much.
He was going, while he was at Second Hope, he had obtained employment in that area. And it says it would be no problem to get employed again if he could be shock probated.
Mr. Stockton, what do you have to say about it?
Your Honor, Mr. Gerald, unfortunately, is not eligible for shock probation. He was shock probated on February 20th of 2020. He was revoked. Shock probation was revoked January the 21st, 2021. So it's way past the time for final sentencing for him to be shock probated at this time. He's already had one crack at it.
Mr. Berry?
Judge, he was revoked January 21 of this year. That's what we were going for him as far as the shock probation motion.
He was on shock when he got revoked. That's what Mr. Stockton is saying.
Yeah, he was shocked on February the 20th of 2020.
Right.
He made it almost a year
So
before.
what he's saying is you can't get shocked on shock.
Yeah.
Okay, Judge, I don't know. I've never, I've never
Okay,
argued.
well, I'm gonna give you 7 days to file some authority to the contrary of that, with Mr. Stockton. But I believe Mr. Stockton's correct about that you can't shock on shock. So if that's the case, then you can redocket it. Give a motion along with the authority if you and Mr. Stockton can't work something out. Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much. Terry Welch. Commonwealth versus Terry Welsh, 20 CR 0037. Are you Terry Welsh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is your social security, you're born in 1988, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Last four digits, social security number 8839.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're here today on a pretrial conference. What do y'all have on this case?
I guess we need a trial date, Your Honor, on 20 CR 37, whenever you're ready to set that.
What's his bond?
Yeah, she's serving, I believe, a state sentence now.
He is a state inmate, Judge, but on 20 CR 37, he currently has a no bond.
Yeah, he violated his bond. He ran to Tennessee and we had to get him back up here. He's had some failures up here.
Okay. How much is his arrearage?
It's over 15,000.
Okay.
And I think the last time he paid may have been an intercepted stimulus check or something. It's been some time. I offered him 3 years consecutive to what he had. He wanted to serve it concurrently. So I'm just asking for a trial date.
Okay. Well, since he's already detained, you can put him on the list to try, but he'll obviously fall in behind people that are not detained on other charges.
Okay.
We'll review this case again on July 22nd. We'll know more where we are on trial dates by then, July 22nd. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we have some private counsel, it appears, on here. Mr. Hellringer, what do you have?
Let's see, Judge. I represent Lauren Hagan, I think in
Okay.
2 cases. I think they're both on for today.
Okay, let me pull it up here. Commonwealth versus Lauren Hagan. Is Lauren Hagan in Barron County?
No, Judge, she's out of custody.
Where is she?
Previously, she's living per the conditions of bond. She's living with her grandparents.
She on the line here today?
No, she's not. I got permission from Mr. Or the agreement of Mr. Stockton in your office that she wouldn't have to be here today physically. She's working full time at the.
Mr. Stockton, what do you want to do with this case?
Your Honor, this case is set for trial on June the 10th, along with co-defendant Charity Heflin. We just received this week a hard drive from the Kentucky Crime Lab, and we're going to have to figure out some way for either Mr. Hellringer to send us a hard drive and copy that along with Mr. Garrett so they can get all the discovery off this, or they're going to have to come and view it at our office. So I don't think it's going to be feasible to have a trial June the 10th. I would like to set a pretrial out and give them time to opportunity to review that. If we can't come to an agreement, then set a trial.
And let's set a pretrial on July the 22nd.
Okay. And both
Is that
attorneys.
true about Mr. Garrett's case? Mr. Garrett, you want to come online and who's your client, Mr. Garrett?
Charity Heflin, Your Honor.
Okay, Charity Heflin.
Heflin.
Okay.
Judge, I have a trial set on July 22nd. Could we go to the August date if possible?
Well, we'll just keep it on the 22nd, and if your trial gets continued or something, we'll do it. If not, we'll let you appear briefly, and you won't have to be present, okay?
Okay, thank you so much, Judge.
Yeah. You'll appear on an iPhone or iPad or whatever you have with you.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Charity Heflin. So is Charity Heflin incarcerated or is she out?
She's
out.
on the line here, looks like.
He should be on the line.
Ms. Heflin, did you hear the discussion there? Your case will come back up on July the 22nd. So you'll need to contact Ms. Heflin, Charity Heflin. You want to turn your camera on? Okay. You'll need to be in contact with your attorney, Mr. Garrett. There's some additional discovery that's come in. You'll review and see if it pertains to your case and your defense. So your case will be back up on July the 22nd, okay?
Your Honor, and I'd ask Mr. Garrett and Mr. Hellringer both to contact my office about how they want to logistically handle this discovery. And I'd ask that Ms. Hagan be available on the July 2nd, 22nd date too.
Okay.
That'll be fine.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay.
Will do, Your Honor, and Mr. Stockton will do that.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Okay,
Now,
thank you,
I see
Judge.
I see Dr. Sparks from KCPC on the line. What case do we have him here at?
That is the Danye Pipkin case. I need to make sure whether he's going to stipulate competency or not.
Okay, Commonwealth versus Danye Pipkins.
Your Honor, Johnny Bell for Mr. Pipkin, we are going to stipulate competency.
Okay, and so Dr. Sparks can be excused then, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Your
Yes,
Honor.
sir. Thank you, Dr.
Sparks,
Sparks.
thank you for your time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Now, do we have anything else to do on the Pipkin case?
Your Honor, I've got a motion to revoke. This is a case where Mr. Pipkin had some
Commonwealth versus Danye Pipkin. 18 CR 0027 and 18 CR 0028. Are you Danye Pipkin?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion to revoke file here. Mr. Stockton, you may proceed.
Your Honor, we've already had one hearing on this. It was basically, there was issues. Mr. Pipkin got a DUI charge back in January. That's not been disposed of. And then there was an incident at his house back in August, but there's never been any charges related to that. Mr. Bell made a proposal to me yesterday. Evidently, Mr. Pipkin's wanting to relocate and get some mental health counseling and drug treatment. And I don't know the specifics of that, but that might be something that the court and I'd be interested in. I don't know.
And Your Honor, that is the situation. We were able to come up with that resolution. I wasn't able to talk to Mr. Pipkin about that yesterday to get the information to Mr. Stockton. I apologize to the court on that.
I'm gonna need some convincing on this.
Okay.
This name, Mr. Pipkin's come up too often and he's gotten too many sweetheart deals in my opinion. So I want to look into this a little bit more. I'm not saying I want to ultimately accept it, but y'all gonna have to talk to each other and give me more detail about it before we do. We're not gonna do anything on it today, okay?
That's fine, Your Honor. If we could pass it, if we come up with something, we'll run it by you. And if not, we can have a hearing next month on it.
That'll be good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Monroe will be on the Monroe Circuit Court will next be on June the 17th. So the case is continued to June 17th. Okay, now do we have any other private attorneys on here?
Judge Eric Bates for Jesse Turner Jr.
Okay, Bruce Brown, are you involved in this case?
No, sir, I'm not in this case.
Okay, well, turn your camera off then, okay? Thank you. Commonwealth versus Jesse Dwayne Turner Jr., 20 CR 0003.
And Judge, I believe this is on for a pretrial, but there's also multiple motions on. And to be quite honest, I need some clarification. I have just entered my appearance. This is my first appearance on the case. I filed a couple of motions, and there were also motions by prior counsel, which I was unable to discern if they've all been ruled on or not. I think some of them have, and I'm not sure if the others have or not.
Let me identify Mr. Turner. I see him over here. Are you Jesse Dwayne Turner Jr.?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so you were born in 1976?
Yes, sir.
Last four digits, social security number 2464.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that you could hear what's going on. You have a right to be present, and I'm sure your attorney wants to make sure of that also. Mr. Stockton, where do you see us being in this case?
Well, this was one of the cases that was set for trial, and it got continued because of COVID. I know Mr. Bates has set several motions. The only motion that I'm aware of that's not been heard, Mr. Bell filed a motion for competency as regards to children, whether they're able to testify. That'll need to be heard by the court at some time.
Okay.
And then take up Mr. Bates's motions whenever it is.
Mr. Bates, what additional motions do you have? I don't have access to the file right now.
Okay, Judge, I had two motions. The first one was just a Brady motion for any exculpatory evidence. Obviously, that's a prophylactic measure designed to get prepared for trial.
Now, Mr. Stockton, I signed a discovery order, reciprocal discovery order. Have you provided all that information in the reciprocal?
We've provided everything to Mr. Bell. I don't know if he's received everything from Mr. Bell or not.
Mr. Bates, did you get Mr. Bell's entire file as far as the reciprocal discovery?
I have not. My understanding was that Mr. Berry was the attorney of record on this case, and I did receive.
I misspoke, but I think Mr. Berry was, and then I thought Mr. Bell took over and then filed the motion for competency, but I may be wrong.
Those were my motions, Judge.
Oh, they're your motions. I'm sorry, Mr. Berry.
Okay. And Mr. Berry did provide to me, I believe, what was the initial response to the court's discovery motion. However, because this involves some interviews with young children, those can't be provided directly to me. So I would have to get those from the prosecution again. I think that there is because those are confidential.
You probably have to listen to them in the prosecutor's office or make some arrangement.
There's an order we can enter, Your Honor, where we can send them to Mr. Bates and he returns them. So.
Right. And I think that order was signed by an agreed order was signed with Mr. Berry previously, but he was not in a position to be able to provide them to me, obviously. So
I'll do a supplemental order on that, and we'll redact Mr. Berry and include you. What else do you have? Now, the Brady situation is resolved. I would take it because the Commonwealth said they provided you all the information they have.
Well, I don't know that I have all of it. I have the initial response to the court's discovery order. I guess I'll need to get with Mr. Stockton to make sure that I have everything. A lot of my questions, and there are some specifics in my Brady motion. I'm asking for 911 calls and things like that. And there may not be any of that stuff that really even exists. I don't know, but I would like to talk to Mr. Stockton, or we could do it on the record. I don't know if Mr. Stockton has a copy of my motion or not.
I do. I'd be glad to confer with Mr. Bates, or I can do a formal response within 30 days. I'm going to be out of town next week, so I won't be able to do it.
When is this scheduled for trial?
No, not yet.
It's not scheduled for trial. Okay, well, y'all, let's redocket this for June the 17th.
Okay.
And hopefully you'll get your discovery. And if you have a motion that you need to be heard after y'all discuss with each other and you can't come to agreement on it, we can schedule that on another day before then, so that will be resolved. And maybe we can do some scheduling, because I assume that Mr. Turner is being held on this charge, right? Is he being held on any other charges?
He does have two other charges.
Judge, he has on this case 20 Monroe 20 CR 03 is a no bond. He has a no bond for 19 CR 464, and then he has a new Barron.
Where's that case? Is that a Monroe County case too? The 19
Barron.
Okay.
And then he also has a Barron 21 CR 76 that's set at 2,500.
Okay, what are those charges in Barron County on 19?
In Barron County on the 19 CR case, it is criminal abuse first degree child 12 or under, class C. And on the 21 CR 76, it's failure to comply with sex offender registration first offense.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess, Mr. Bates, are you representing him in those charges over there too?
I am not yet, Judge. I have not entered my appearance on those. I think if, looking at the charges that we have in front of us on this case is probably going to be driving the bus, so to speak. So I wanted to get into this case and kind of understand what was going on before I entered my appearance on the other two. I have not technically been retained for those, but I would likely take those two cases once I had an understanding of what was going on in this one.
Okay, so we'll be back in this case here. Go ahead, Mr. Stockton, excuse me.
I just want to suggest to Mr. Bates, if he thinks he's missing anything or wants to see anything, he's welcome to come to my office and we'll set up a time and go over everything and try to get everything he needs.
Okay, and Mr. Stockton, could I get a phone number where I could just call you and either set an appointment or maybe even discuss with you at some point before I come down there?
Yeah, 606-387-8458.
8458. All right. Thank you.
Okay, well, we're scheduled then for June the 17th. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Mr.
Judge.
Bates, thank you for being with us today. Excuse.
Your Honor, I didn't know if we was having a bond hearing or not today. I'd like to release Adam Bowe. He's on the line. He was a witness of mine.
And Judge, that it was my intention to try to get a date certain. So actually the court's plan to have a hearing date where we'll deal with everything if it needs to be dealt with.
I will deal with everything if I find out anything needs to be dealt with. That's what I said. You guys talk to each other.
Right.
And if you can't resolve, then you call me and we can set a date significantly before June the 17th.
Understood, Judge. But it was not my intention to have a bond hearing today. It was possibly to schedule a date.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. Okay, now is there any, Mr. Garrett, what else do you have on here?
Judge, I've got Terry Muse.
Hey, spell it. Give me the first letter.
Muse, M-U-S-E.
Muse, okay, yeah.
So does Turner Discovery need to be redone?
No.
Commonwealth versus Terry Muse. 21 CR 0015. Are you Terry Muse? Is Terry Muse?
Yes, it is. It is, Your Honor.
Mr. Muse, what year were you born?
1985,
Okay, last four digits of social security number.
2055.
Okay, you're here today for the purpose of arraignment. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say could be used against you. The grand jury of Monroe County has returned an indictment charging you with strangulation, first degree, assault, fourth degree, domestic violence, minor injury, terroristic threatening, and a persistent felony offender. Do you understand those charges?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Garrett, do you acknowledge the identity of your client, waive formal reading and arraignment, enter plea of not guilty, reserving all pretrial motions?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll sign a reciprocal discovery order here today. Ms. Fletcher, to what we,
I was just waiting for you to ask me about bond.
I'm not going to ask you about bond.
All right, thank you.
Okay?
Judge,
Yes.
would the court entertain a motion for bond?
If you want to file a motion for bond, sure. But I'm not going to entertain a motion for bond on strangulation and domestic violence and terroristic threatening without a written motion.
Yes, sir.
Have some details. So if you and Mr. Stockton want to discuss that, you know.
Well, we need a bond hearing, Your Honor.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We're not going to have it today. And Mr. Muse, you have a right to one bond hearing by law. And so what Mr. Garrett is going to do is reserve your right on that till he can file a written motion on the thing. If we heard it today and I denied it, it would just be within my discretion to have another bond hearing. So it's to your advantage also not to have a bond hearing today. This case will be next heard on June the 17th, unless there is some need to have a hearing on bond before then agreed to with the parties. Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Garrett, do you have anything else?
Judge, I've got Kayla Spivey.
Commonwealth versus Kayla Spivey, 20 CR 0084. Are you Kayla Spivey?
Yes.
We're on a pretrial conference. Is there
Your Honor.
a case of this?
Yes, there is. And I just want to advise the court, Mr. Garrett, the state of Commonwealth, Kentucky and the state of California has entered into an executive agreement to bring Mr. Whitledge back, and we should have him back here by the next pretrial, which would be in June. I've been dealing with the governor's office. It's been signed by the governor and the secretary of state here, and we're just waiting on California to sign. The agreement's been negotiated.
Okay. He's not on the docket today, though. Correct?
No, he's not been before this court yet.
Okay. So we will set this case to be heard next on June the 17th. Okay. Thank you very much. What else do you have, Mr. Garrett?
Your Honor, I have William Rich.
Commonwealth versus William Rich, 17 CR 00105. Are you William Rich?
Yes, sir.
You born in 1977?
Yes, sir.
Last four digits of social security number 1370.
Yes.
Okay, you're here today on a motion to revoke probation. Mr. Stockton, would you like to be heard?
I would, Your Honor. He was on 5-year sentence trafficking in marijuana over 5 pounds. And according to his probation officer, he either didn't report or absconded. I've got Mr. Collins here to testify.
You want to stipulate to that, Mr. Garrett?
Mr. Rich, do you want to stipulate to that?
That means, do you want to challenge whether or not you failed to report or not?
I didn't receive, the last time I talked to my probation officer, it was Wesley Bray, and he told me if I paid my fines.
Okay, wait just a second. Then.
Okay.
So obviously he doesn't want to stipulate. Unless you want to put, I tell you, okay, you can stipulate and you could call him as a witness if you want to do that.
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor, we will do
Is
that.
that okay with you, Mr. Stockton?
It is, but I guess I'm kind of at a disadvantage because Mr. Collins signed the report and I need to get Mr. Bray. Well, Wesley Bray's on here, so I can call him. That's fine.
Okay.
I'll just call Mr. Bray.
Okay, Mr. Rich, you want to raise your right hand? Mr. Bray, you don't need to be on, don't turn your camera on yet. When we call, you can turn your camera on, okay? Thank you. You swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, state your full name.
William Ray Rich.
And you previously stipulated a failure report. Now you're going to testify and answer any questions that your attorney, Ken Garrett. Mr. Garrett, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Rich, can you explain to the court what happened?
Yes, I spoke with Mr. Wesley Bray in February, I believe it was February, and me and him, I talked about if I paid my fines that he would put me on inactive. And I was under the impression that as soon as I paid my fines, I was supposed to, contact him. And when I got my stimulus check, and I didn't get my phone was off. I didn't get the call from, I was supposed to got a call. It said on the paperwork, and I just didn't get that call.
Have your fines been paid at this point?
Yes, I've got the fines paid off.
And if you were to be re-released, would you have employment?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Rich, when did you pay your fines off in full?
Just like maybe a week ago.
Okay, so when
I got my stimulus check like we had agreed, I went ahead and had it took up.
I know, but until those fines were paid in full, your agreement with Mr. Bray was that you were still supposed to report to him. Isn't that correct?
Yes, I thought that because it hadn't been but just like a month. I don't know exactly the day, how many exact days it was, but it ain't been, that long. I just thought
the question to you is, and it's a simple question, until your fines were paid in full, you were supposed to report and be available for Mr. Bray. Is that not correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what type of job do you have waiting for you if you get out of jail?
I tear down houses and barns, and that's what I've done for the last 6 years. Actually, I bought one, I've got one I'm tearing down right now, but I can't get to it until I get out of here.
Do you work for yourself or do you work for somebody else?
Yes, sir, for myself.
Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor. You're muted, Your Honor.
Can we redirect, Mr. Garrett?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you want to call your probation parole officer, Mr.
Yes, briefly, Your Honor.
Mr. Bray, will you turn your camera on, please? You raise your right hand, please, Mr. Bray. Swear the testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
State your name with whom you're employed and what capacity.
Officer Wesley Bray, probation and parole officer.
Okay.
Mr. Bray, were you supervising Mr. Rich?
I was at the time in question.
And did you lose contact with him this year?
Well, he was moved back to Officer Collins after I told him was that he was on administrative caseload at first, which means they mail in every 3 months. But I told him that if he paid his fines off, he could go back to admin, not inactive. And then the case was moved to Officer Collins in March.
Okay. Did you speak with Mr. Rich in February of this year?
I did.
Okay. And that's when you told him if his fines were paid in full, he'd go back to mail in only?
Yes.
Okay. And after that, Mr. Collins supervised Mr. Rich or attempted to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I guess I have no other questions, and I'll call Mr. Collins next, Your Honor.
You have any questions, Mr. Garrett?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Okay.
Need to call Mr. Collins, Your Honor.
Mr. Collins, you want to turn your camera on? Swear the testimony about to give us the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do, Your Honor.
So with whom you're employed and your full name.
Ryan Chase Collins, probation parole.
Okay. Did you take over the supervision of Mr. William Rich?
I did in March of 2021.
Okay. And have you ever had any contact with him?
I have not. On 3/24/21, I attempted to call Mr. Rich at the numbers listed because he had failed to report for the month of March. On 4/1, I actually sent a letter to his home telling him he needed to contact me by 4/9. And on 4/9, he never called or never reported as directed. And on 4/13 again, I attempted to call all numbers listed, which also returned negative results. I would like to add that after Mr. Rich was arrested and apprehended, his girlfriend or fiance, she's contacted me a few times. She did verify that they did receive the letter, but they were scared to call me. So he did, she stated he received the letter. I think he's had some other things going on and he was just afraid to call from what I've gathered from her.
Okay. And evidently he owed, as of April the 13th, he still owed about $1,075 in fine and costs. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you verify they've been paid in full?
She had called me. I'm wanting to say she called me this week and said that she paid them.
So his girlfriend paid them off for him?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Oh, one other question. You know how long Mr. Rich has been in jail?
4/16.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Mr. Garrett?
Just one question. Are you aware of whether or not he had any violations other than this no-show, Officer Collins?
That I'm aware of, he's had no other violations.
Okay, nothing further.
No other questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Stockton?
I have no other witnesses.
Okay, would you like to be heard?
Your Honor, I think Mr. Rich is not obeyed the rules as he should have. He looks like somebody's advocating on his behalf because they got his fines and costs paid, and that's a good thing. Looks like he may have employment. If the court wishes to revoke him for this, that's fine. If you wish to sanction him and extend his probation, that's fine. But he needs to, if he is not revoked, he needs to know that he has to be in contact with his officer, and the worst thing he can do is hide from him and be afraid to contact.
Yeah, Mr. Collins, before I let Mr. Garrett say anything, what would you recommend just for it? I'll tell you what, I'm inclined. You on there, Mr. Collins? Can you get back on?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm inclined to give him the 30 days, make him serve the rest of some more time to get 30 days. And if you get him back, will you put him on supervised or what will you do with him?
Yeah, he'll go back to regular supervision. He'll have to report once monthly. And that'll go on for at least a year. And then we can reevaluate and see where he's at and go from there. If he can report.
Okay, I'm not going to revoke him today. I'm going to make him round out the 30 days from the day as a sanction. Won't be good time. And then I'm going to extend his probationary period for 5 years. And do you want to argue against that, Mr. Garrett, or do you?
I do not, Your Honor.
Yeah, okay. So I'm telling you, Mr. Rich, these probation parole officers, if you make their life hard, they can't help you. But if you got problems and you go to them and try to get out and work, and you might get off this and get unsupervised again. Okay, so you'll serve, I guess, the remaining days, 3 or 4, whatever it is, as a sanction, and then I'll sign an order getting you out. So don't be afraid to call. You need to be afraid of what's going to happen to you next time if you don't call. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Garrett, do you have anything else?
I do not, Your Honor. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, have a great day. Are
You
they,
do.
Mr. Bell, are you on there? You have something else?
I've got Jackie Short for arraignment.
Okay. Commonwealth versus Jackie Short, 21 CR 0008. Are you Jackie Short?
Yes, sir.
Were you born in 1990?
Yes.
Last four digits of your social security, 4616.
Yep.
Okay, you're here for the purpose of arraignment. You're represented by Mr. Bell. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. The grand jury of Monroe County has returned an indictment charging you with receiving stolen property under $10,000 and being a persistent felony offender of the first degree. Do you understand those charges? Mr. Bell, do you acknowledge the identity of your client? Receive the indictment, waive formal reading and arraignment, enter a plea of not guilty, reserving all pretrial motions.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. What is Mr. Short being held on this charge, Miss Whitney?
Judge, he is a state inmate, but he has a surety bond for this case.
How much?
It is sorry, 20,000 surety.
Okay, now how long is he gonna be a state prisoner? One never knows, but.
It looks like it was revoked January 21st, but I don't know.
Okay.
It was a 5-year sentence, so I don't know when his eligibility date is.
Okay, well, let's just set this for June 17th. I'll sign a reciprocal discovery order. You send the information, Mr. Short, they'll be sending information to your attorney, Mr. Bell, so he can prepare for your defense, and maybe he can get up with Mr. Stockton, and the two cases could be looked at together, one that revoked and this one, and might be resolved. If not, since he's not being held on this charge, he'll be on the list, but he won't be at the top of the list as far as
Yes, sir.
trial dates. Okay. Do you have anything else, Mr. Bell?
No, Your Honor. You have a good day.
Okay. Is there any other private counsel on the line?
Did you modify the bond on that?
No, I
Okay,
didn't.
okay, sorry.
No, I did
Make
not
sure I didn't
modify.
miss it.
Yes, Judge. Bruce Brown here.
Okay,
I'm
Bruce.
here for Herman Serrano for arraignment. I'm here as DPA conflict counsel on this.
Wait a second here. Easier to keep up with these cases when you go straight through the docket, you know. But not everyone wants to stay on the line with us. I just don't understand that. Okay, is it Adam Austin Serrano's?
No, it's German Serrano.
How you spell that? The last
SERR.
SER, okay. Here it is. Commonwealth, Kentucky versus German Costello Serrano, 21 CR 0029, here today for the purpose of arraignment. Mr. Serrano, are you born in 1974?
Yes, Your Honor.
What's the last four digits of your social security number?
8896.
Okay, you have a right to remain silent, and anything you say can be used against you, so I advise you to remain silent until you get a chance to talk to your attorney about this. The grand jury of Monroe County has returned an indictment charging you with alcohol intoxication at public place, assault fourth degree, domestic violence, minor injury, burglary, first degree, and menacing. You understand those charges?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Brown, do you acknowledge the identity of your client, receipt the indictment, waive formal reading and arraignment, enter plea of not guilty, serving all pretrial motions?
We do, Judge.
Yeah, okay. What do you have? I'm gonna sign a reciprocal discovery order that which will provide your attorney with all the information to prepare for your defense. Are you very familiar with this case now, Mr. Brown? Are you gonna need some time or?
I did represent him in the preliminary hearing, so I think I've got a handle on it.
Okay, you haven't talked to Mr. Stockton about the case?
I have. I talked with him briefly. I think we're going to try to, I've got to talk to Mr. Serrano, but I think some sort of long-term treatment, possibly with the ARC program, would be.
Okay, well, I'll let y'all work on that. And this case will be brought up the next time on June the 17th. Is he being held on any other charges?
I'm going to be out that whole week, Judge.
Is this the only charge you've been handled on?
Yes, Judge, this is the only charge being held on. Sorry, I was waiting for you to address the.
Okay, well, I will tell you, if you can work out something before then, I'll set a special plea day for you if y'all work something out. You think there's a possibility you might work something out, Mr. Stockton?
Possibly, Your Honor. I'm going to be in Monroe County on June the 4th at 9 o'clock to meet with Mr. Berry. I don't know if Mr. Brown's available then or not, if he wants to come to Tompkinsville.
I've got a full day trial that day, and I'm also out the week of June 17th.
You just need to contact me and set up a time to meet.
July the 22nd, if I don't hear anything more from y'all. Okay. This fellow is incarcerated. What is his bond, Ms. Fletcher, again?
Bond is currently set at 20,000 cash, no contact, no use or possession of illegal drugs or alcohol, random drug testing, home incarceration.
What do you know about this case, Mr. Stockton? Does that?
I know I've dealt with Mr. Serrano in the past, and he either when he was in circuit court or in drug court, he absconded for over a year one time. And I also know that this is a serious case. I've spoken with the victim.
Okay,
and I think the bond's
so we'll have to have a hearing, have to have a bond hearing if there's a bond reduction. So, Mr. Brown, I'll let you reserve that bond hearing. Okay, we'll be back here then on July 22nd. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge.
Anything else?
That's all I had, Judge.
Have a great day. Is there any other private counsel on the line? Okay.
I'll come up there and talk to you, German, okay?
Okay.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
yeah. Go back to Ronnie Allen. Commonwealth versus Ronnie Allen. Commonwealth versus Ronnie Allen, 18 CR 00112. Are you Ronnie Allen?
Yes, sir.
You were born in 1984?
Yes.
Last four digits, social security number 5802.
Yes, sir.
58. Okay. Okay, we're here today on a motion to revoke. Is that right, Mr. Stockton?
Yes, Your Honor. He has a 5-year sentence receiving stolen property in Monroe County. And I'd call, he also has some other cases in Barron County convictions. I'd call Mr. Collins as a witness on this case.
Well, you want to tell, what are you trying to revoke him on? Maybe Mr.
He went to Tennessee. He got a new felony arrest. He ended up serving time in Tennessee. And then when he got out of jail, he wouldn't report back to Mr. Collins. He told him that he was in Oregon when he was living in Glasgow, and he never would report. And finally, Mr. Collins got a warrant and had him incarcerated.
Okay, Mr. Berry, is your client going to stipulate, or do we need to have some testimony?
You probably need some testimony, Judge.
Okay, call your witness then.
Mr. Carter was representing him, so I'm kind of new on it, but I've talked with him.
Mr. Collins, you want to get on the line? Raise your right hand. Swear the testimony about to give us the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, proceed. State your name, who you're employed with.
Chase Collins, I'm employed with probation and parole.
Mr. Collins, did you start supervising Mr. Allen in this case sometime around October of 2018?
I did.
And during that time, I guess he had some positive drug tests and some issues. Is that correct?
Yes, he had, actually, while he was probated in Monroe County, he never had a positive drug screen.
Okay, okay. He was ordered to pay $3,369 in restitution. Has that been paid in full?
I think that was to, I believe that was owed to Barron County Circuit Court.
Okay, so he's not owed anything here in Monroe?
No, no.
Okay. Now, at some point in time, did he get permission to go to Tennessee, or did he go to Tennessee in this case?
He did. On 1/19/19, we placed Mr. Ronnie Allen on inactive so he could move to Tennessee. And if he moved back to Kentucky, he was to be placed back on active supervision.
Okay.
From 1/19/19 until 7/9/2020, he never had a hiccup. And then he was indicted in Sumner County, Tennessee on 7/9/2020. And on 3/25, he was actually released. He got convicted of a new felony in Tennessee and was released to probation down there.
Do you know what the felony was he was convicted of?
Yes. Hang on just one second. It was, there was 4 charges: theft of property, $1,000 or less, driving on a suspended license, theft of property, $1,000 to $2,500, and tampering with physical evidence. He was given community corrections for a period of 4 years. He's supposed to have an alcohol and drug assessment within 60 days of release, no contact with the victims in the case. And he owed restitution of $800 to an Angela Johnson and restitution of $1,551 to Leah Russell.
Okay. After he was released then from Tennessee, you said that was March of this year?
Yes.
March 25th. Or what happened? Were you able to contact Mr. Allen?
No, I wasn't. I actually found out that he was arrested down in Tennessee. And I had sent a letter to Sumner County down there advising him that he was to report to me, once released or if released in that case. And I sent that on February the 1st. The letter was tendered then. Never received a call. The only reason I knew he was released is a family member called me and let me know that he was back in Barron County and he was working. So then I tried to get a hold of him that way. I told the individual, please have Mr. Allen call. Please have Mr. Allen call. He never would call. Finally got a actual phone number for him. Spoke to Mr. Ronnie on 4/21. And he advised me that he was still in Oregon. Told me he would not be able to make it back to Kentucky for at least 2 to 3 months because of gas issues. I advised him that I knew he was in Glasgow and that he just needed to report. And he assured me that he was not. And then on 5/6, he was lodged in Simpson County Jail.
Okay. On 5/6?
Yes.
Okay. Was he arrested in Barron County, or do you know?
I think they arrested him, I guess, in Simpson County, I would assume.
Now, you've got in your violation report that Mr. Allen still owes $992.80. Is that Barron?
Yes,
or
it's
Monroe?
out of Barron County. Yes, he still has to pay the restitution there. Yeah.
Okay. I have nothing further then.
Mr. Berry, you want to inquire?
I do, Judge. Mr. Collins, he doesn't have any pending charges. It's just he has his probation down in Tennessee. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I believe there's an active warrant down there. He never showed up to even start it. So he may have a warrant in Tennessee as well.
Okay. Could that have been because he was in jail up here, or do you know?
No, he wasn't in jail at the time. He just, once they released him, he never reported.
So he was evidently doing pretty good while he was on probation here with you in Monroe County. No positive drug tests, and he was
I never had a positive drug test from the time he was probated at Monroe County. No.
Okay, he actually ended up on inactive supervision, or
He did,
it's
yes.
inactive probation.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I would have for him, Judge.
Any
No other
redirect?
witness. No other witnesses or questions.
Okay. Mr. Berry, would you wish to call a witness?
I do. I want to call Mr. Allen.
Son, you raise your right hand, sir. Swear the testimony about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You may proceed, Mr. Berry.
Thank you. Ronnie, you're on probation down in Tennessee, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you been contacting them or talked with them in any way?
No, not since I got out. I contacted them the day I got out, and then I was supposed to go in, but then I didn't.
Okay. All right. What about this telling Officer Collins you were in Oregon?
Actually, I went in Glasgow that day. That's his hearsay, so they just went off of hearsay. I wasn't in Glasgow that day, but.
What do you mean they went off of hearsay? What are you talking about?
He just had a call saying I was living in Glasgow. They never once had proof that I was living in Glasgow.
Okay, that's not what I'm asking you though, Ronnie. Were you told him you were living in Oregon?
Yeah.
Residing in Oregon? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you realize, you know what you have to do on probation, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and reporting's a big part of it, letting them know where you are, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In fact, you seem to do pretty good on that for quite a while. Would you be able to do that again if the court were to release you back to your probation?
Yeah, I never had no problem reporting to Officer Collins. When I went in, actually, he said I can move on with my life, so that's what I done. I went on.
Okay, where would you live if you were out?
Tompkinsville.
Okay. Do you have any prospects for a job down in Tompkinsville?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, where?
I can go back to Sawmill. I can go back over to Stevens Welding.
Okay. Did you work for Stevens before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What about Sawmill? Have you worked at one of those?
Yes, sir. I was maintenance at both of them.
Okay. I pass the witness, Judge.
Mr. Allen, when were you released from jail in Tennessee?
I believe it was March 27th, actually, not March 25th.
And where did you go after you were released in jail in Tennessee?
To the projects down there.
The projects in Monroe County?
No, in Gallatin.
In Gallatin. When did you come back to Kentucky?
I came up April 15th because we had to say April 18th. And then I left back out that following weekend.
Left back out to where?
I went back to Gallatin and then I was leaving back out to go to Oregon.
So you were back and forth from Kentucky and Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever go to Oregon?
Yeah.
How long were you out there?
Off and on, I lived in Oregon now probably 4 or 5 years, just back and forth.
Well, my question is from March the 27th through the time you were arrested on May the 6th, how long were you?
I never once made it back to Oregon then.
Okay, you didn't go. Okay.
Oh.
So when you told Mr. Collins you was in Oregon, that's just not correct.
I told Mr. Collins I was headed back to Oregon.
Okay. And he asked you to report to him, didn't he?
Actually, he told me that he'd call me back. He's going to have to check with y'all to see what y'all wanted to do where I caught the new case in Tennessee. Well, he never once called me back. He just actually sent the police to my sisters. Well, when they went out there, she called me. So no, I never did report to him.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
I have no further witnesses, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Stockton, you want to be heard?
Your Honor, I really don't understand what's happened in Mr. Allen's life. He did good for quite a while. Then he went to Tennessee and he picked up these new felony charges and served jail time. And then he wouldn't report back to Tennessee and he wouldn't report back.
Is he finished in Tennessee or is he supposed to be on probation?
Mr. Collins says there's an active warrant on him because he wouldn't report back. And Mr. Allen said he didn't report back like he was supposed to. Yeah. He testified. So he's not reported with them. And now he's not reported to Mr. Collins. I don't know what's happened in his life. Why?
Was the underlying charge?
It's a theft charge. It's receiving stolen property over $500.
Was there restitution to be made in the case?
Not in this case. He had theft cases in Barron County he had to make restitution on that he's on probation for. So, you know, I would recommend that he be revoked at this time. If he gets all these other matters cleared up, he might come back on shock or something, but.
I actually, Barron County done with. I mean, I was off probation in Barron County. And then Tennessee, I mean, I was having that switched up here to Officer Collins because Alexander in Barron County was going to talk the 25th about to Officer Collins having my Sumner County case moved back up here to Kentucky because I can report better up here.
Mr. Berry, you want to be heard?
Yeah, Judge, I'd just like to summarize by saying that Mr. Allen does seem quite capable of being successful on probation. He proved it for quite a while. He even worked his way to being inactive or on inactive probation. I'd ask the court to not revoke him on this, but to sanction him and to allow him back out on his probation. And he's intending on living in Tompkinsville. He would be able to report if that's what probation requires him to do. And I would just ask you to not revoke him at this point.
Was the Tennessee charge a theft charge also, Mr. Stockton?
Yeah, it's theft over 1,000.
Well,
Also tampering case.
Yeah.
And I think the reason he was put on inactive is because he wanted to move to Tennessee, and that was the agreement that we let him move and took him off active supervision.
Mr. Allen, what if I don't revoke you and you agreed not to be in the state of Kentucky for the next 5 years?
Yeah, I can do it. I can leave. I can leave today.
Mr. Stockton, I think that we have somebody here who is no personal offense to you, Mr. Allen, but cannot tell the truth and has a propensity to steal. I don't know whether we can change those character traits or not. Mr. Allen is going to have to change those himself. How would the Commonwealth feel about extending his period of probation for 5 years to say they can't be in the state of Kentucky?
Well, I think if, first of all, he needs to see if Tennessee's going to pick him up. If they pick him up and he moves down there, we'd extend his probation for 5 years. But if he comes back to Kentucky, he has to report immediately to Mr. Collins.
Well, I understand. And what they do in Tennessee is neither here nor there to us if we extend him for 5 years. So what I'm going to do is extend him for 5 years and say during that probationary period, he shall not come back into the Commonwealth of Kentucky. If he does, it'd be a violation of terms. Mr. Collins, you got that down?
I do, Your Honor.
And I guess they got a hold on him from Tennessee. Is that correct?
I would assume. I had talked to the criminal court down there and they explained that he did have some probation violations on him. So I don't know if those are extraditable or not. So,
well, I'll tell you what we'll do is I'm going to give him 48 hours before we release him. Is that enough time for you to notify him?
Yes, I can notify him.
Okay. Now, Mr. Allen, you have not been truthful to your probation parole officer, and you need to be truthful to him. And I'm going to tell you, I'm being true to you. If you come back here, you're gone. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, you got no. I ain't coming back. I want to look at y'all again.
Do what?
I ain't coming back. I want to look at y'all no more.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good. Well, I'll be happy. You have a wonderful time out on the left coast out there. So,
all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commonwealth versus Stephen Bell, 18 CR 00183.
Judge, this is my case also. Mr. Stockton and I have talked about this, and I believe he was agreeable to letting Mr. Bell be assessed by drug court.
Tell me some of the underlying things here, Mr. Bell.
She has an arraignment.
Yes.
There's an arraignment too.
21 CR 27.
No, that's on Stephen Bell, not Stefan Bell. There's two different Bells here. I had the same problem when I went over.
I didn't realize that. So
Yeah, I went to the jail to talk to him. I had him confused completely as to.
So that's a
Stefan.
different Bell then.
Right.
So this is Stefan.
It
Are you
is.
Stefan? Are you Stefan Bell?
Yes, sir.
He's 18.
Born in 1993. You born in 1993?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're here on a motion to revoke, and this is an 18 CR 00183.
Judge, if I could just one thing interject before we get going too much on. Mr. Bell was in a car accident back in September, and there was some brain damage, injury, and he has some problems communicating. So that may be a little bit of a hesitation when he answers.
Yeah.
Mr. Stockton, you want to?
Well, we can't get off first base in this case, Your Honor, because we're comparing our cases. And we have got Stefan J. Bell indicted on 21 CR 27. We've used the same social security number, same date of birth, and that was provided by the police officer. So I disagree with Mr. Berry. I don't think his client may be saying that's a different case.
I'm just going by what's on the docket here, how they're spelled.
Yeah.
So they're spelled the exact same.
In our indictments, they're spelled exactly
Mr. Bell, what are the last four digits of your social security number?
6539.
Okay, and that's what we got on all three of these.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them got Stephen J, which would be Jamal, I guess. And the other one just got Stephen, and the other one got Stefan.
Well, they're all spelled the same first name, Stephan.
No, well,
oh, they're not.
Oh, they're not. Well, I'm looking at two that I've got out this.
Stephen on two of them. And one of the Stephen's got a J after it, but they've got the same year of birth and the same social security number.
Yeah, I see the one's got the E. I see that.
So I'm assuming it's the same fella here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do the arraignment on 19 CR, excuse me, CR 0027. Mr. Bell, I'm going to arraign you on these charges. You're represented by Mr. Greg Berry. You have a right to remain silent. The grand jury of Monroe County has returned an indictment charging you with the first degree possession of controlled substance, drug, unspecified first offense, and operating a motor vehicle under the influence of alcohol or unknown drug. Mr. Berry, now that we've gotten that straightened out, do you acknowledge the identity of your client?
I do, Judge.
Okay, you waive formal reading and arraignment, acknowledge receipt of the indictment, here plea not guilty, reserving all pretrial motions.
I do.
Okay, we're also here on 18 CR 00183 on a motion to revoke and 19 CR 00121. Now, Mr. Bell, how do you spell your first name?
Stephan.
Okay, we're going to move to amend the indictments on 19 CR 00121 and 21 CR 0027. And it's Jamal, your middle name, Jamal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll add those to indictments too. So, okay, Mr. Stockton.
That's fine, Your Honor.
Okay, now what do you want to do? You want to
Your
look
Honor,
at the underlying? Go ahead.
Mr. Berry and I are meeting June the 4th. I would like to discuss all three of these cases with Mr. Berry. I'd also like to also submit an order for a drug court referral, see if he is even eligible. I didn't know about his underlying physical condition and see if he's eligible and see if we can work out a resolution.
Okay, you submit that order. We'll be back here on June the 17th for all three of these cases. And I'll be available to sign any orders that you and Mr. Berry believe is appropriate. And so, Mr. Bell, they'll be getting us some discovery information from the Commonwealth over on this new indictment, and then they're going to meet, as you said, on the 4th. You want a transportation, or are you going to meet with him
It's up to Mr. Berry if he wants him there or not. If he-
Mr. Barry, you decide whether you want him there virtually on the 4th of June or not. Send me an order, okay?
All right.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bell. The next case is Lucid Beltran Torres. Sir, would you state your full name?
Lucio Cantor.
Okay. And Mr. Torres, do you speak English enough to understand this arraignment?
A little bit, yes, sir.
Sounds like you do. This is 21 CR 0035. You're here today for the purpose of arraignment. We're going to read the charges against you. You have a right to remain silent. Mr. Barry, wave there. Have you met Mr. Torres yet?
No, I've not.
Okay, wave so he can see you there. Okay, that's going to be your lawyer there, Mr. Torres. He'll be meeting with you soon. The grand jury of Monroe County has returned an indictment charging you with traffic and controlled substance, operating under the influence of motor vehicle under influence, no operator's license, possession of open alcohol container in a motor vehicle, improper display of registration plates, improper registration plate. You understand those charges?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you enter a plea of not guilty for this gentleman.
I do.
You acknowledge his identity, acknowledge receipt of the indictment, waive formal reading and arraignment, reserve all pretrial motions.
Yes, Judge.
Okay, what's the bond on this gentleman?
Bond is currently set at 20,000, clerk approved surety. Make sure, no driving, no use or possession of illegal drugs or alcohol, make all scheduled court appearances, random drug testing, curfew.
Okay, that'll be fine. We'll next take up this case on June 17th. Teresa Botts.
Judge, she's in Ross Cash.
Yes,
I don't know if they're on.
there she is.
No. Okay.
Yeah, she is. Good. Commonwealth versus Teresa Botts, 20 CR 0040. Are you Teresa Botts?
Yes, sir.
Born in 1971.
Yes, sir.
Last 4 digits, social security number 0210.
Yes, sir.
We're here today on a pretrial motion. What do you have, Mr. Stockton?
We have a felony plea, Your Honor.
We don't have it signed and all yet, Jesse. Remember, we do have an agreement on it, Judge. Ms. Botts agreed to it. And I conveyed to Mr. Stockton that we would agree to the offer they've made us. But we were going to do the plea on the June docket.
Okay.
Is she already a state prisoner?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay, so that way we can do the plea and do the sentencing on that date, and we'll have a pre-sentence investigation report necessary.
Okay, that'd work.
Okay, so we'll continue this case till June the 17th, and I thank the folks there at the correctional institution for helping us. Okay, thank you for courtesy.
Thank you.
Yeah. George Brown. Commonwealth versus George Brown, 17 CR 00088. Are you George Brown?
Yes, sir.
You born in 1994, Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir.
Last 4 digits, social security number 2561. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, we're here on a motion to revoke. What do you have to say, Mr. Stockton, for the Commonwealth?
Your Honor, Mr. Brown entered a plea in 2017 on trafficking, and he was on probation for about 4 years and did really well. And then he got a possession charge in this year. And I spoke with Mr. Collins. We'd like to have him assessed for drug court if that's all right with the court and pass his case. Yeah.
I'd be willing to do that. We'll do an assessment for drug court. Mr. Brown
If he's
made an
willing.
effort, it appears. And yeah, are you willing to do that, Mr. Brown, be assessed for drug court?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we'll get you assessed and see and if it works out, we try to get you oriented. And we can do that just as soon as possible. I don't know when they'll do the assessment orientation, but we'll get back with you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Schedule this for June the 17th in case we don't do something before then, okay? Adam Serranos. Mr. Collins, could you, that last, is Mr. Brown on, can you put a pin on him?
I can, yes, I can put him on alternative. Sir.
Okay, thank you.
What about Stefan Bell, Your Honor?
Yeah, put a pin on him too.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for Adam Serranos. Adam Austin Serranos, 21 CR 0001. Are you Adam Austin Serranos?
Adam Austin Cisneros.
Cisneros. Okay, pardon me for mispronouncing your name. Here today for an arraignment. You have a right to remain silent. Do you have an attorney?
No.
Okay, did you represent this gentleman in district court, Mr. Barry, or did your office?
I don't know, Judge, if we did or not.
Did this is a direct submission?
No, it went through district court and he appears to have had private counsel is what I have in my notes.
Who was that? Who was your lawyer, Adam, in district court?
I'm not sure.
Did you hire someone?
Not for these charges.
Well, these might be the same charges you had in district court. Are these different charges? What charges did you have in district court that you hired someone for?
Murder and receiving of stolen property over 10,000.
Murder?
Yeah.
In Monroe District? Were you in Monroe District?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's 20F98, it looks like.
I'm showing Stephen Poindexter.
That's a different case than this.
Yes, it's murder or murder of a police officer, attempted murder. It looks like amended down to attempted murder of a police officer and receiving stolen property.
Can you afford an attorney now, Adam?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm going to appoint the Office of Public Advocacy to represent you. Mr. Barry, wave at him so he can see you on the screen there. You're here for the purpose of arraignment. You had the right to remain silent. Grand jury of Monroe County is returning indictment charging you with speeding, fleeing and evading first degree, wanton endangerment of police officer, reckless driving, improper passing, failure to or have improper signal, no registration, and operating under the influence. You understand those charges?
Yes, sir.
I would think that this might be the same case. It's just different charges.
Well, I looked in CourtNet. It's connected to a 20F72 is what it says. It was linked to a 20F72.
And what was the charge in 20F72?
I'm looking. It says speeding 26 over, fleeing or evading, wanton endangerment, second degree, police officer, reckless driving, improper passing, failure to a proper
So
signal.
it wasn't an attempted murder there.
No, it was not,
You
Judge.
see him in the chart there anywhere for an attempted murder charge?
He's still being held for the grand jury for that case. It's not been indicted on
Can you
yet.
give us a district court case number for the attempted murder charge?
20F98.
20
That
F
was in Monroe County.
Yes, sir.
20F98.
And it looks like he was assigned DPA in the 20F72.
Okay, well, we'll bring this case back up on June the 17th, and maybe there'll be more clarity as to where we are on that previous charge and on this charge also. I'll sign a reciprocal discovery order. Your microphone's off, Mr. Stockton.
No, when I was talking, that case, we finally figured out that attempted murder case is a case where he allegedly attempted to run over a police officer from Tennessee at the gas station in Gamale. And we've never gotten a case from the state police on that. That's what we're waiting on.
Okay, well, that'll be fine. There's no statute of limitations in Kentucky, you know.
I guess not.
Okay, 21 CR 00016, Commonwealth, Kentucky versus Jared Ford. Your microphone's off, Mr. Stockton.
I know what I'm trying to do, two things at once. I'll calm down here in a second.
Turn it back off then, that's fine.
Okay.
Are you Jared Ford?
Yes.
Were you born in 1992?
Yep.
Last four digits, social security number 5651?
Yep.
You're here today for the purpose of arraignment. Do you have an attorney? It looked like.
I'm gonna hire one.
Okay, you want private counsel?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna appoint a public defender for the purpose of arraignment only today, and then he'll be released, and you can have a private attorney if you want to hire one.
All right.
The grand jury of Monroe County has returned an indictment charging you with assault in the first degree, assault, fourth degree domestic violence, and being a persistent felony offender. Do you understand those charges?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you heard the defendant acknowledge his identity. Do you acknowledge the identity for him and receive the indictment, waive formal reading arraignment, enter plea of not guilty, reserving into his new counsel all pretrial motions? Mr. Barry? Okay. Now, if we'll hold off, on sending the reciprocal discovery order to anyone until we find out who your attorney is. When you get an attorney, you need to have your attorney contact the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, and that attorney needs to enter appearance here with the court. You understand that? Your next court date will be on June the 17th. Okay, thank you. Charles A. Harper. Commonwealth versus Charles A. Harper, 18 CR 00017. Are you Charles A. Harper III?
Yes, sir.
You born in 1990?
Yes, sir.
Last four digits of social security number 9820?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're here on a motion to revoke. What does the Commonwealth have to say?
Your Honor, he's on a 5-year sentence receiving stolen property. He's had several meth positives. Also, he's not completed his treatment with life skills, and he had another positive meth test on 5/9/21. I've got Mr. Ford here to testify.
You want to stipulate, Mr. Barry?
Judge, we would stipulate that he's had a real problem with methamphetamine and has had some positive drug tests.
Okay, you stipulate the drug test that were alleged by the Commonwealth. Okay, you want it, Mr. Stockton, you want any other testimony other than that, or you want to let him put the
I
defendant?
would like Mr. Ford to give us, see if he's amenable to treatment or what, because she's been the one working.
Ms. Ford, thank you. Ms. Ford, you raise your right hand. You swear testimony is about to give us the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Would you state your full name, with whom you're employed, and what capacity, please, ma'am?
Charity Ford, Probation Pro, District 3, Baron Metcalf.
Thank you so much. Mr. Stockton, you may proceed.
Ms. Ford, have you attempted to have treatment provided for Mr. Harper?
Back in July, he failed to report for a drug test. I finally got him in for the drug test, and he was positive for meth. He denied that he was dirty, and we sent it to the lab. It ultimately came back. Monroe County's court was closed in person, but we had court in Metcalf County to address the positive drug test. However, he was referred to short-term inpatient by the SSC at that time because he was using IV. And he told the people each time he called a facility that he had no recent use. So he was unable to get into any type of short-term program at that time. So ultimately, Metcalf County agreed to just let him do outpatient counseling and do 30 days on the ankle bracelet. And he came in. I had another issue trying to get him to come in. He wouldn't come in. He said he was sick with COVID or was going to be tested. He finally came in again. I asked him, was he doing his life skills? And he said no, that he thought that that was stupid just to keep going in there, talking to them about the same thing. However, he did ultimately start going back to life skills. However, recently we've had another bump in the road. At this time, Judge Alexander issued a warrant because he failed to report again for another drug test, and he's back using again IV use.
I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Berry, would you like to inquire of this officer?
I would, Judge. Ms. Ford, are you saying you think you would benefit more of a long-term type of treatment?
I would say so. However, it's ultimately up to the SSC, and I don't know if the courts know, but sometimes they don't always agree with what I think.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay, that's all I'd have for Officer Ford, Judge.
I have no redirect, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Stockton, you want to make your argument?
Yes, the Commonwealth in this case would recommend revocation because Mr. Harper, I agree he has a drug problem, but he's not been amenable to treatment. And I would recommend revocation, and hopefully he could get in the SAP program while he's in Department of Corrections. If for some reason they won't move him or place him in the part where SAP's available, I would probably look favorable on a motion for SHOP for him to go to long-term treatment. But at this point in time, I think he needs to be revoked.
Okay, now, Mr. Berry, do you want to call a witness?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would call Mr. Harper, Judge, just to clear up.
Mr. Harper, you want to raise your right hand? Swear a testimony about to give us the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Berry, you may inquire, Mr. Harper.
Okay, Judge. Charles, you heard the testimony from the probation officer. Are you wanting to go to inpatient treatment or not?
Yes, sir. I had a lady come by yesterday giving me at the Kentucky Christian Recovery and then the Hope House program living. I don't remember her name. Her card is in the cell. I don't have it on me. But she said it was a couple of rehabs that she said she was going to be here at 4 today. But I don't see her nowhere.
She's from my office. I know who you're talking about. This is Ms. Steenberg. Okay, but Charles,
there she is.
That is, it may. Are you willing to, or are you wanting to do treatment?
Yes, most definitely. Because I mean, I've left my family out there on the outside to, provide for themselves, and that's not very husband-like or father-like of me.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
I have no questions.
Okay. Mr. Berry, would you like to be heard?
Judge, I'd like to put Ms. Steenberg on real quick.
Okay.
On here.
Okay, ma'am, you raise your right hand. You swear a testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
State your full name, with whom you're employed, and what capacity.
Bethany Steenbergen. I'm the alternative sentencing worker for the Public Defender's Office in Glasgow.
Bethany, did you go assess Charles at my request?
I did.
Okay, could you inform the court what your recommendations would be on him?
Mr. Harper does have a long, extensive history of methamphetamine IV use, and we did talk about long-term residential treatment, 6 months to a year-long program. 2 of them, which would allow him at certain phases to begin working, so that he could also provide for his family while being in treatment.
Okay. What are those programs? Where are they?
Hope House is a 12-month long program that is in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and Kentucky Christian Recovery is a 6 to 9 month program in Morgantown, Kentucky.
Okay, are those RKC facilities?
No, he is not eligible for a Recovery Kentucky Center based on some of his previous charges.
Okay. Okay, I'd pass the witness, Joey.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Okay. That's all the witnesses I would have, Your Honor.
You want to be heard, Mr. Berry?
Yes, Judge. I guess my only argument is, or plea on this is to give him one more chance on a treatment option, the long-term inpatient. Mr. Harper obviously has a terrible drug problem here if he's using intravenously. And it's many times takes a few shots or something to try to get over it, or to try to, before something works. And I would just ask the court to allow us to arrange long-term treatment for him and give him one more chance at this, Your Honor.
Mr. Stockton, you want a rebuttal on that?
The only problem that I have with him going immediately to long-term treatment is he's had such a problem with IV drug use. Those facilities aren't locked down or anything. And he can just up and leave whenever he wants to. I think he needs some time in jail to reflect upon his life and about where he wants to go. And then if he's not provided treatment in jail, as I said, I would look favorably on a motion for shock to one of these facilities, but I think it's just too soon.
Mr. Harper, I appreciate what you said about not being very father-like or husband-like, but a corpse can't be father-like or husband-like. And this IV use is so dangerous. You know, you don't know really, you think you know where you get it. You trust one of those people you get it from, and they give you something with a little too much fentanyl or something like that. And you probably have friends or people you know that's died. Is that right?
Sir.
Yeah. So I'm a little afraid to let you out till we get you more structured, but I think you heard what the Commonwealth attorney said about trying to get you some treatment there. If they don't give you the kind of treatment you're supposed to have in a correctional situation, I want to direct the public defender to start looking for the most secure long-term place that we can find. Because I think you've got the first step is that you want to do some treatment, but it's not going to be easy. You know that. I know if it's easy, everybody do. You'd already done it if it was going to be easy. So we're going to try to work you through this thing. I'm going to revoke you with the idea that we'll see if you can get some treatment there. And if you can't, we'll consider a shock to get you some. Okay. Thank you very much. Charity Heflin, we've already done. Jeremy Jones. Jeremy Jones. Commonwealth versus Jeremy Jones, 20 CR 00072. Are you Jeremy Jones?
Yes, sir.
What are the last four digits of your social security number, Mr. Jones?
5671.
And the year of your birth?
1979.
You're here today on a pretrial conference. Do we have anything on this, Mr. Stockton?
No, Your Honor. I don't know if Mr. Burry wants to meet with me. We'll meet on this case on June the 4th. See if we can work out a resolution. If not, we'll need a trial date.
Okay, well, they'll have a meeting on June the 4th, which would become a condition of Mr. Jones's bond if he makes his bond between now and then. They're going to move, and then Mr. Barry, you'll have to tell me whether you want Mr. Jones there on the 4th or not.
I would want him there.
Okay, if you can determine whether you want it virtually or have him transported, and you can submit an order one way or the other. Then his case will be set on the docket for the 17th of June.
This is the one you and I talked about. He's got a pending case down in district court, and we're going to try to see if we can wrap them both up.
Who's talked about you and Mr. Stockton?
We have.
Okay, we said you and I have talked about. I know I hadn't talked to him about.
No, I meant Jesse.
Okay. See you the 17th. Okay. Thank you very much. Robert Braxton Jones. Commonwealth versus Robert Braxton Jones. Are you Robert Braxton Jones?
Yes, sir.
This is 21 CR 00014. Mr. Jones, what are the last four digits of your social security number?
1377.
And your year of birth?
10/29/96.
Okay. You're here today for the purpose of arraignment. You have a right to remain silent. You're represented by, who's your attorney?
I don't know about this case, but I have Greg Berry in Brown County.
Okay, well, he's Office of Public Advocacy, so he'll represent you in this case also.
Okay, I didn't know.
You see him there, Mr. Berry? Wave at him there. Okay. You have a right to remain silent, sir. The grand jury of Monroe County returned an indictment charging you with robbery in the second degree and being a persistent felony offender. Do you understand those charges?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Berry, do you acknowledge the identity of your client received the indictment, await formal reading and arraignment, and plea of not guilty, reserving all pretrial motions?
I do, Judge.
We'll set this. Do you want to meet on the 4th on this, Mr. Stock?
Yes,
So, and Mr. Berry will decide whether you want to be there in person or virtually, Mr. Jones. They'll negotiate your case on June the 4th, and then you can you can come back in this court on June the 17th. Thank you very much. Bobby G. Keys. Commonwealth, Kentucky versus Bobby G. Keys, 21 CR 0024. Are you Bobby Keys?
Yes.
Born in 1961.
Yes.
Last 4 digits social security number are 4553. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Who is your attorney in this case?
I don't have one.
Okay. Did this case go through district court?
Yes. It was
Did public defender represent you there?
Yeah, Mr. Spears.
Is Mr. Spears still with your office, Mr. Berry?
He's not, Judge.
Okay, well, you can take this case here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is an arraignment. Mr. Keys, you remain silent, okay? Because anything you say can be used against you. Grand jury of Monroe County has returned an indictment charging you with failure to signal properly, driving DUI suspended, traffic and controlled substance first degree, first offense, meth, traffic and controlled substance first degree, drug unspecified, drug paraphernalia, possession or a controlled substance prescription not in the original container, failure of owner to maintain insurance, being a persistent felony offender, 2 counts. Do you understand those charges?
Yes, sir.
Do you acknowledge the identity of your client, waive formal reading and arraignment, acknowledge receipt of indictment, enter a plea of not guilty, and reserve all pretrial motions?
We do, Judge.
You want to meet on this one on June the 4th also, and his next court date will be June 17th.
Okay, Judge.
Okay, and and as a condition of the bond, it would be if he gets out on bond between now and then, it would be to attend this pretrial. Okay, thank you, sir. The next case is Commonwealth Kentucky versus Jared Daniel Lawson. Jared Daniel Lawson. 21 CR 0011. Are you Jared Daniel Lawson?
Yep.
Were you born in 1976?
Yes.
Yeah, and last 4 digits of your social security number are 2528. Is that correct, sir?
Yep.
Do you have an attorney or was the public advocacy represent you?
Public advocacy.
Okay, I'll continue that appointment. You're going to be arraigned here today, sir. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say could be used against you. I recommend that you remain silent, okay? The grand jury of Monroe County has returned an indictment charging you with traffic and controlled substance, first degree, second or more offense, methamphetamine, possession of drug, possession of controlled substance, first degree, first offense, methamphetamine, drug paraphernalia, possession of synthetic drugs, possession of marijuana, being a persistent felony offender, second degree. Do you understand those charges? Mr. Lawson, you understand those charges? I'm not asking whether you did or not. I'm just okay. Mr. Berry, you acknowledge the identity of Mr. Lawson, who received the indictment, waive formal reading and arraignment, enter a plea of not guilty, reserving all pretrial motions.
We do, Judge.
Okay, there'll be a meeting, I guess, on June the 4th, where your attorney will consult with the Commonwealth on this case. You'll either be present there personally or by, by this Zoom situation, or you might waive presence after your attorney will be able to talk to you about that. Okay, I'm going to enter a reciprocal discovery order. It means that we'll send all the papers over to your attorney so he can look at and help your defense. Okay. Thank you very much. Brendan Scott. Braden Scott, I guess. Braden.
Brendan.
Is that how you say your name, sir?
Brendan. Brendan.
There's an N.
Yeah, B-R-E-N. Brendan.
There's three charges. There's three indictments.
Okay. The name's just not spelled right on the first one. So, for in 18 CR 0077, there's a motion to vote on 18 CR 00132. There's a pretrial conference, and on I guess those are the two. Is that right?
Also on 18-157. There's a pretrial.
Yeah, there it is. It's got Brendan Bruce on that one, 18 CR 00157. Okay, if y'all got a plea readiness.
Yes,
Mr. Stockton, you're
Yeah, what happened in this case is on 18 CR 77, where the motion to revoke is pending, he was probated and went into drug court and graduated. And it was my intention to dismiss these cases after his graduation from drug court. However, he's got a new misdemeanor arrest, including a DUI. So I guess Mr. Berry and I need to discuss all three cases to see if we can come to a resolution. Or if he wants me to proceed with the motion to revoke, I can.
What do you say, Mr. Berry?
Oh, okay. I didn't know he's throwing it over to me. Yeah, I'd like to have a chance to go over all three cases. These cases have kind of a long history here, but it was sort of waiting to see if he made it to the drug court, and he actually did. So there may have been a hiccup here after he finished drug court, but maybe we can still work something out on this.
Is he a drug court graduate?
Yes, he graduated just recently, like last year.
Okay. So you want to meet on the 4th to see if you can work?
Yes.
Okay. Your attorney's going to meet with the Commonwealth on the 4th, Mr. Scott, see what they can work out on this situation. Your next court date will be on the 17th, unless there's some kind of agreement to the contrary, and your attorney will let you know, okay? Thank you very much. Alex Bernard Tooley is next on the docket.
But I think Alex, Mr. Tula was released. When I went to see him the other day, he had been released.
Ms. Fletcher, do you know anything about that?
What was the defendant's name? Sorry, Judge.
Sorry to wake you up there. So.
No, I was like,
It's probably probation and parole that would know, Judge.
Alex Bernard Tooley. Do you know Mr. Collins? Do you know anything?
Your Honor, he had a absconding warrant on him, and he was picked up in Warren County, along with some new charges, I do believe. And I spoke with Officer Bray this morning, and he stated that he was actually moved to Barron County Jail this morning. So I don't know if he's there in Warren County.
I had him, he was moved to Barron County last week. That's when I went up to see him. They said.
Moved to Warren County, you mean?
No, he was here, from what I understood.
I'm checking Justice Exchange.
He was in Warren, moved up here, and
like he might still be in Warren County. Give me 1 second.
According to Vaughn, he's now in Warren.
I was gonna say, I wanted to make sure there wasn't a transfer or anything. Warren County Regional Jail. Yeah, he's still in Warren as of May 6th. And Judge, looking at Prim, it looks like you have a probation hold on him according to our system, but he also still has his Warren County holds.
Okay, well, let's put him on the docket for the 17th. And I guess we'll have to make extra caution. We know where he is on that day. Probably need some help on that.
I even, if I need to, I can get with Megan and let her know. I've got the contact for Zoom there. If you have to.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Next case is Donnie Tooley. Commonwealth versus Donnie Tooley.
Good morning.
Good morning. Commonwealth versus Donnie L. Tooley, 21 CR 0004. Are you Donnie Tooley?
Yes, sir.
You born in 1972?
Yes, sir.
Last four digits, your social security number 8898. You're here today for the purpose of arraignment. You also have 21 CR 0005. Also, now, who is your attorney in this case?
Back in January, they gave me Joshua Spears, but I don't know if he's still.
Okay, well, Mr. Greg Berry will be your attorney for public advocacy. Wave there, Mr. Berry, so he knows you see him. See Mr. Berry there? Okay. You have the right to remain silent, sir. I'm going to read the charges against you. The grand jury of Monroe County in 21 CR 0004 has charged you with trafficking controlled substance, first degree, first offense, tampering with physical evidence, possession of controlled substance, first degree, first offense, possession of marijuana, being a persistent felony offender. In 21 CR 005, the grand jury of Monroe County charged you with trafficking controlled substance, first degree, first offense, trafficking marijuana less than 8 ounces, first degree possession of controlled substance, drug unspecified, controlled substance prescription not an original container, and drug paraphernalia buy and possess, being a persistent felony offender, first degree. Do you understand those charges?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Berry, do you acknowledge the identity of Mr. Donnie Tooley? Acknowledge receipt of the indictment, waive formal reading and arraignment, enter plea not guilty, reserving all pretrial motions.
Do, Judge.
Okay, I'm going to enter a reciprocal discovery order, Mr. Tooley, that says the Commonwealth will need to give the information they have to your attorney to help prepare you for your defense. We'll schedule a conference between you and your attorney in the Commonwealth on June the 4th. And Mr. Berry, you decide whether you need Mr. Tooley's presence there in person or by video. And then your next court date will be June 17th, okay?
All right.
Thank you very much. Lonzo Tooley. That's the last case on the docket, Mr. Stark.
I also have James Mercer.
I'll go back to that here then. Commonwealth versus Lonzo Tooley, 21 CR 00031. Are you Lorenzo Tooley?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, were you born in 1976?
Yes, sir.
Last four digits of social security number of what?
5651.
Okay, well, you're here today for the purpose of arraignment. You have the right to remain silent. Were you representing district court by the public defender's office?
No, sir, I wasn't represented. I never went through district court.
Never went through district court. Okay. Are you going to hire a private attorney?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna appoint public advocacy for you. You have the right to remain silent. I'm gonna read the indictment against you, Mr. Lorenzo Tooley. The grand jury has returned indictment charging you with first degree possession of controlled substance, drug unspecified, trafficking controlled substance, methamphetamine, drug paraphernalia by or possess, and being persistent felony offender first degree. Do you understand those charges?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Berry, do you acknowledge the identity of your client? Receive the indictment, wait formal and read, and interplead not guilty, reserving all pretrial motions.
I do, Judge.
Okay. We'll schedule a conference between the Commonwealth and you on June the 4th, and you'll be here in court on June the 17th. And if your presence is needed at the conference, which you can do that virtually or in person, your attorney will come talk to you, see which one you need to do. Okay. Thank you very much. So what's the next case you said you had?
Is there any considered bond reduction?
What is it? What is bond?
Bond is currently set at 20,000. Property,
Well, your attorney can discuss that with the Commonwealth. You have a right to one hearing, and you don't want to use that up today without your attorney being prepared for it. So your attorney will be in contact with you. Now, I will consider a bond reduction if they're in agreement. If they aren't in agreement, I'll have a hearing and let you have your say. Okay?
I can make a 10,000 property if you would allow it.
Well, let's see what they have to say. We'll get back with you. Okay?
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Judge, Mr. Mercer, when I went through the docket originally, I could not ascertain his location, if he was in custody, out of custody, and I never heard anything else. So he was pushed off to the June 17th date.
Is he there in jail?
I believe that's him.
There in Barron County.
that's him.
Okay, well, we can go ahead and do it. What we got?
He's
on-
represented by private counsel, I believe.
Yes, Johnny Bell's representing.
Oh, okay.
And I informed Mr. Bell's office that he wasn't on the docket when they inquired yesterday.
Okay, where are we in his case?
It's a motion to revoke. He had, I don't know, has he been revoked in Barron County already? He was in drug court in Barron County and was terminated. And the reason we kept him on probation was to see if he could complete probation, drug court in Barron County.
Okay, well, let's just include, he's a state prisoner then, right? Okay,
He's
well,
showing a sentence.
okay, let's put this on the docket for the 17th, June 17th, okay? Thank you very much. Okay, you got anything else, Mr. Stockton?
No, that's all I was aware of.
Okay, Mr. Barry, you have anything else? Okay, well, thank you very much. We come back in at what time?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, okay.